Welcome, Army fans. This is Joe Iacona with GoBlackKnights.com with a special Mother's Day edition of our GoBlackKnights.com podcast. I am very honored to have with me Erin Small, the mother of Army Center Brady Small, Catherine Gilliam, the mother of Army running back Kanye Udo, and Frederica Daniels, right down here from Gwinnett County, Georgia, with her awesome picture of her son Marquel on the in her background, the mother of Lieutenant Marquel Broughton. How are we doing today, ladies? We excited for Mother's Day tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Good stuff. My mom had a shoulder surgery for Mother's Day, so that was her gift. So
I had surgery on
hopefully she's
Thursday.
recovering well. So anyway, we're gonna get started. So we're gonna start with I've got some questions on my own. I've got some questions from my publisher, Charles Grievous. So we'll start with Erin Small, the mother of Brady Small, Army Rising Sophomore Center. Erin, first question for you. If you can remember back this far, what was your life like before you had children?
So I had we started our family right after getting married. So I had graduated from college, had just started a school teacher. I was in my second year of teaching, had married my husband, and we got pregnant right away after becoming married and had Brady. So it was like kind of all happened very quickly.
Good stuff. I completely relate to that. Catherine, a little bit of a different question. So, you three are all mothers, obviously. But like everyone else on planet Earth, you have mothers as well. So, if you could ask your mother any question, what would you like to ask her, Catherine?
Ooh, several. My mother passed away almost 4 years ago. July will make, I think, 4 years now. Yeah. Um, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional.
That's okay.
It's
Sorry,
just,
I didn't mean to make you do
yeah,
that. If it helps
it's okay.
if it helps at all, my father passed away in July 2019, so I can relate a lot.
Right.
So
Yeah. Um, I guess it would be once your kid, I guess, graduates high school, what is the dynamics of the relationship after that? Like, you render your child, you raise your child, you set them up for success as much as you can. But then once they get a certain age, from society standpoints, like, what is the relationship? How do you as a mother view the relationship? Would probably be my question to her.
that is a great question. I have a good friend of mine who says, it's funny. You talk to any mom with small kids, they're like, "Oh my gosh, my life is chaos. Like I have these babies, and they're like, I can never sleep." And which is true. Like that's a really hard part of life. Then you go to another phase where they're middle school kids, and that's a mess because they can't drive yet, but you have to take them everywhere, and you have to. That's a whole different. And then they're teenagers, and it's like, oh my gosh, then your prayer life really improves because then they're out on their own, and you're like, what do I do about this? But I have a friend of mine who says you never really understand what it's like to be a good parent until you no longer have control over your children's decisions. Then
Exactly.
you know for sure one way or the other how that went. So, Frederica, we're going to move on to you. And you're in a unique situation. You have a young adult, as I said, Lieutenant Marquel Broughton, who is a very responsible young Army officer at this point in time. I actually ran into him at the LSU game last year, said hi to him, so that was great. Great seeing Marquel. So, what's the hardest or most challenging thing about being the mom of a West Point cadet / Army football player? And what is the best thing about that experience?
Whew. I would say the hardest part was dropping your baby off at West Point and not talking to them enough. They get there and it's like you don't matter anymore, where you go from, they used to call you about everything, to you can barely get a text message out of them, especially playing football. It's like, great. Well, one day he'll see this message and one day he'll respond. But Marquel was pretty good with responding because he a mama's boy. So I get the question and I'd be like, look, I need to know this. We need to know this. And he would send me the message or tell me whatever it is. And he was like, don't ask me no more questions. But the fun part was meeting other parents, like the family that you create. I met some long-term friends now, like sisters and brothers, and the relationships that you get out of Army football is like no other.
Absolutely. And I would agree with everything you would say. I know Marquel's extremely responsive. I texted him a couple times when he was a cadet, and he always responded to me pretty quickly. So I know he responded to his mom pretty quickly for sure. If it makes you feel any better, way back in the Stone Age when I was a cadet, we back before cell phones and everything in Beast Barracks, we got one call home after 3 weeks, and then another call home at the end of Beast. So that was our only
I would have
connection
went crazy.
other than writing letters. So, Aaron, back to you.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time to one moment with Brady before he attended West Point, what would that moment be? Like, what was your most special moment with him as a kid, and why?
So I don't know if it was the most special moment, but a moment that I knew Brady was destined for something special. As a young man and as an athlete was when he was 7 years old and he was going for his black belt in karate, and what he endured as a 7-year-old and sparring against adults and teenage boys, and I'm crying watching because they're gonna hurt my baby, and him coming out of that, there was something about that I said, you know what, like this kid's gonna be okay. And he over the years has proven, even when he's down or injured or whatever it may be, he's been able to overcome. And I always go back to that moment, watching him, go for that black belt at such a young age, is a special moment of what kind of character and what kind of young man that he was going to become or could become and be on that path.
That's awesome. It's a pretty funny story too. Talking about going up in karate against adults. It just being an old Seinfeld fan reminds me of Kramer when he went to the dojo and decided to take on all the little kids. So that's what that reminded me of. So, ladies, it's funny. One of the things I know, my sisters had to deal with when I was coming up through the academy, it's like, hey, I have other children too, and they're important too. And I know you three, I know for a fact that Catherine, I haven't had as much personal communication with you, but I know Aaron and Frederica, you guys have other kids. So talk a little bit. We'll start with Frederica. Talk a little bit and tell the Army fans about your other children and what they're up to, and what it's like being a mom to those other kids in your family as well.
Well, I have a total of 3 kids. Marquel is my middle child. I have a daughter that's 27. Then I have a baby boy that's 20. And while Marquel was in the Army up at West Point, they swore he was my favorite child. I didn't care about them. All I worried about is Marquel. Only person I post is Marquel. If you go around the house, the only child in the house is Marquel. So it was a lot of jealousy going on, and I had to learn how to show them love differently. And then my daughter had a baby, so when her baby came, she really felt like she was left out. And the baby boy, he's just the baby boy. He's spoiled.
Everybody's favorite,
So
right?
it
He's
was
the only grandkid at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So he was jealous of the grandbaby. The baby was jealous of the grandbaby, and the oldest was jealous of Marquel. So, but we all as a family, like the love we have for Marquel is amazing, you know, just to see him go through that process and endure it because, you know, he went in around the time COVID started, and that COVID year was the first year of COVID was hard. We did get to have
Crazy.
him home for 3-4 months.
I know how hard it is being a cadet, period. I can't imagine like being a cadet during COVID. That seems crazy to me.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, that's why. No, that's such a funny story. It's so relatable. I think that anybody who's been a West Point grad, I had to use all my leadership skills in the past 20 years since I've graduated to like get my sisters back on board. Because trust me, it was the same way. Like I was the favored child, so it was totally get it. So, Aaron, how about you? I know you've got I see. I think we're friends on Facebook. I see your son Ryan. He's a big time golfer. Talk a little bit about Ryan, and I don't know if you have any other children, but go ahead.
No, it's just Brady and Ryan. Ryan is getting ready to graduate from high school in 2 weeks. He is also will be a St. Augustine alumni like Brady and Kanye. So they graduate on the 23rd. And he is going to attend Kane University in New Jersey, where he's going to golf.
Awesome. Good,
Yeah.
good stuff. What do you know what division is Keene for golf? Are they like D2, 1AA?
Third
Okay.
division, right? Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. The only reason I asked, my nephew got a partial ride to Washington and Lee, and I think they're like a 1AA or whatever. So kind of cool. Catherine, how about you? Do you have any other children besides Kanye? Give us an update on that.
Just Kanye.
Good
Just
stuff.
one
That's-
and done.
I can relate. We have one kid, so completely relate to that story. And the only
actually
child,
wanted
it's
10
it's
kids,
good
so
and
I
bad. It's an
got one.
interesting situation, right?
Yes, I wanted 10 kids. I have one. So
Yeah, we don't always get what we want, so I completely understand that. So, talk a little bit about Aaron and Catherine. You guys, it's funny. I was talking about this with Charles this morning. The relationship that Brady and Kanye have is really unique. Being high school teammates and really good friends there, and then both coming to West Point in the same class. Really cool story. Like I kind of wish like I had a best friend to attend West Point with, and I didn't. So, Catherine, we'll start with you. Kind of, what's that relationship been like for you? And I'm sure you're relatively close with Aaron as well. So, kind of talk about what that's been like for you.
yes, we are close with Erin as well as the rest of her family. When we travel, sometimes we don't plan to travel together. We kind of end up in the airport together or so on. But I text Erin, I call her. She has been, if I don't know, she might know. If we don't know, we'll find out together type of thing. But it's been a beautiful thing. It's definitely a blessing having Brady and Kanye. Brady used to drive Kanye to school. Like I would drop him off his house and he'll drive him up to West Point when they was at the prep school. Just a beautiful thing. Just having someone that you are familiar with and you trust, and then just going on this journey together with somebody. Because this is different and we're learning as we go along. But it's definitely a beautiful thing. And Erin, her family, like I love them. Especially Erin's mom is like, that's my girl. It's just she's everything.
That's awesome. Aaron, give us your perspective on that same dynamic, if you will.
Definitely Kanye and Brady's relationship has really grown since being at West Point. Obviously, they were friends and teammates in high school, but where they go to high school, it's so unique because the kids come from all over. So Kanye lives almost, 50 minutes from our house. So it's not someone who, Brady really got to hang out with that much on the weekends, things like that. Their relationship was really very much friends and school teammates, but really watching their friendship evolve over the last 2 years, being at the prep school together and really becoming so much more of brothers. And I go back to Brady had posted a picture on his Instagram account from them being at the White House, and it was of Brady and Kanye, and Kanye's laughing and Brady's got this look on his face, and all I could think is, man, I wonder what they or what's going on.
They're really talking about.
You know, and it's kind of like one of those things, like they know and it will stay between them, and they definitely have each other's back. They look out for each other, and they are two guys that will be friends forever and really brothers. I love, you know, their relationship they have. They're so happy for each other when each one has successes, for sure.
Very cool. That's an awesome situation. So, Frederica, turning to you, give everybody an update on what Marquell's been doing since he graduated West Point 2 years ago now. Hard to believe. He's probably getting ready to be promoted to first lieutenant pretty soon, I bet, which is interesting. Go ahead.
Well, you know, when he left West Point last year, he went up to the Broncos for a while, and he did the training camps and everything. He got cut, and then it was a waiting game. So he waited. He put in his paperwork probably July. One of his frat brothers got him on with Lazy Boy. He worked with Lazy Boy as a Southeast regional manager, training manager or something like that.
Wow.
And when we went to the Army Navy game, Secretary of the Army came up to me and was like, "Hey, you Marquell Broughton's mom?" And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." She was like, "What are you doing these days?" I said, "Respectfully, he's waiting to get back in the Army." And she was like, "What? His paperwork hadn't been signed?" She was like, "I'll sign it next week." And she did. The next week she called him up and had signed his paperwork. He just commissioned March of this year.
Oh, wow. I
So
didn't realize
he's
that.
actually
Okay.
going
For some
down.
reason, when I talked to him at LSU, I thought he was going to Benning or Hood or which is Cavizos now or whatever. But
Yeah, he's stationed for Hood or whatever the new name is.
Yeah.
But he wasn't commissioned yet.
Oh,
So
okay.
he got
Got it.
commissioned in March, and he just signed for his first apartment, which he go get his keys next week in Columbus, where he'll start Bolick. So
Okay.
his Army
Good
career is
stuff.
about to start now.
So he's really just getting
He's
started
actually,
with his Army career. He just got commissioned 2 months ago. Okay. Good. Wow.
yes.
It's really interesting. I don't think you have a really unique perspective because even me as a grad and somebody who works for GBK, I think even Charles, none of us really understand the whole process that goes on with cadets who graduate and try for the NFL under that program and what. So I gotta ask you, this wasn't part of the initial intended podcast, but I think the fan base will be really interested to hear how this works. You mentioned, after he got cut from the Broncos, he was working for Lazy Boy and kind of just as much as without not asking you to give any personal or difficult information or anything like that, just kind of enlighten the fan base on how the process works for cadets who, because clearly even with this class, we have Jimmy Charlo, we have a number of guys trying out for NFL teams. Josh Lingenfelter got an invite to the Jags camp. Leo Lowen got an invite. Kind of just enlighten the fan base on how that whole process works. Just to kind of educate us a little bit, really.
Well, they have to get approval to hold off on their commission. And they get that approval, and then they go up to camps. I think they got 12 months to either get signed by a team, picked up by a team. And the thing about it, it takes a while for them. Once they decide they want to go back into the Army, it takes a while for them to get in. It's not like it's an overnight process. It's a couple months. I think him and Bonnie are on the same, they got commissioned around the same time, and they both were on the same journey, and they're just now getting ready to start. So it takes about 9 months to 12 months to get back into the Army. During that period, they're not paid by the Army, so they don't have any benefits. They don't have any CAT cards, any of that. So at that moment when they defer their commissioning, they're not employed by the Army.
Good to know. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know that. I mean, I know if I didn't know how the whole process works, I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't know how the whole process works. And of course, starting next year, it'll change again. You know, depending on who gets elected in November, it might change again. Nobody really knows.
I have a feeling it's going to change. It's going to stay the same. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, you know,
But
that's
we'll
a whole
see.
different discussion. I personally, I think I agree with what most people agree with, that I think it's good that cadets get opportunities. You know, we give cadets opportunities for Rhodes scholarships, med school, Olympic programs. I don't see why the NFL should be singled out as anything different. That's my personal opinion. You can write to me at goblackknights.com and tell me why I'm wrong, but that's my personal opinion.
Oh, you know they will.
Of course, of course. So, good stuff. Well, thank you for letting us know that, Frederica. Okay, so now we are going to get into the final segment of the program, my rapid fire. Some of you have been subjected to this torture before, so I will ask each of you a question. Please answer as quickly as humanly possible. Aaron, go ahead. We will start with you, then we'll go to Catherine and Frederica. Aaron, do you know what your children are doing for you tomorrow for Mother's Day, or is it a complete surprise? And if you do know, what are they doing?
Well, I'm hoping I get a phone call from Brady. And Ryan has a hockey game, so we're gonna go head down for his hockey game and then do dinner with my mom and my siblings.
Sounds fun. Catherine, how about you?
Open definitely for a phone call. Other than that, I don't know. We'll see.
That's good. How about it, Frederica? What are you doing for Mother's Day?
Well, Marquell is actually up at West Point right now. He went up Friday for a retirement ceremony for his mentor, Colonel Woodruff, and he said that when he flew back on Sunday to make sure I had the meat that I wanted out, because him and his siblings were going to cook for me. I just had
Outstanding.
surgery on Thursday, so I've been limited.
Oh, you had the same privilege as my mom, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, your kids are cooking for you. Hopefully, that's a good thing.
Yes, my
I know
daughter,
they
she
don't
bought
teach
me
you how
a
to cook at West Point, so I'm hoping your daughter knows how to cook, because I'm thinking Marquell can't help you in that arena, but maybe I'm wrong.
well, I can say this time that Marquell's been out since he left West Point, that's all he's been doing is learning how to cook. So he's been cooking up some stuff for us, and it's actually been good. He actually spent 3 months up at West Point from February till April. He just came back home in April. He went up there to get his mind acclimated back to the Army, so he didn't have no distractions.
Good for him. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. All right, next question. Aaron, you know, Brady's wrapping up plebe year. I think probably not done with term end exams yet. If you've been talking to him, which term end has him the most nervous?
Chemistry.
How about it, Catherine? How about Kanye? What has him the most nervous right now?
At this point, I think English.
English.
Yeah.
Okay. Frederica, we can't relate, but going to Bullock, I'm going to kind of throw you a little bit of a curveball. Does Marquell want to go to Ranger School? And if so, when can he go?
Yes, I think he has. I think Bullock is either 6 to 9 months, I believe. But right after that, he's going straight to. He's already said it. You know, Connor Bishop just graduated from Ranger
I know.
School.
I was going to say his buddy Connor just graduated. So yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, "I'm next, Cap." So
Good stuff.
that's one of
awesome.
his desires is to graduate from Ranger School.
Yeah, I have the Army is I am hopeful the Army can hold on to Marquell as long as possible. That is going to be a huge benefit for the Army. Your son is going to be an amazing leader, and the Army is just privileged to have him. Trust me. Very, very excited about that. All right, Aaron. Next question. So, with Ryan going off to Keene next year and Brady being at West Point, the two schools aren't that far apart, which is kind of nice. Golf, college golf happens in the fall as well as football. So tell me a little bit about, have you and your husband talked about kind of calendar planning and what that's going to look like for the fall yet?
The fall's going to be hectic. So my husband and I both are coaches in the fall as well. I coach at Rowan University for field hockey. He is a high school football coach, and we have Brady's schedule and then Ryan's schedule. But in New Jersey in high school, you can't watch them play golf. There's no spectators on the course. So I'm not even sure how the college rules are, if you're even allowed to watch him in college. So we'll have to get his schedule. As soon as our schedules come out, my husband and I, we look and see where the conflicts are, and the priorities are kids. So we make sure that we're at their stuff. And if we have to split up, we'll split up, but we'll cross that bridge when it happens. But in college, they actually play 2 seasons for golf. So they play a fall and a spring. So if we miss some stuff in the fall, we have the spring to catch up on. So.
Very good. I didn't know you were a college field hockey coach. That's very interesting. Good stuff. Catherine, for Kanye, talk a little bit about what his summer is going to look like. Is he going to get to spend any time at home, or does he go straight into training and then summer school and then camp? What does that look like for Kanye?
So what I know, Kanye will be coming home this Thursday. I think he's home for a week, and then that's it. So it's going to be something different for myself as well as Kanye. Then he'll be back at West Point.
All right, good stuff. All right, Frederica. So last question for you. With Marquell having the opportunity to be at Fort Benning a decent amount, and you living in Georgia, have you had an opportunity, and will you have an opportunity to get some good mother-son time in with him, being that he's only about 2 hours away from you?
I will. Actually, he moves in his apartment next Friday, and I was like, as soon as I get off work, I'm driving down just to help him, put the little apartment together. It's exciting because, girls kind of know how to do these things. But boys, it's like, Mama, what do I do? How do I do this? And he was like, are you going to come help me? For sure. Anytime I can get some time, I'm going.
Completely understand that. That's great. That's a huge blessing. Hey, ladies, thank you very much for your time tonight. Saturday night before Mother's Day, you could have been doing a million other things. So from the bottom of our hearts at GBK, we are truly grateful for your time. Have a very happy Mother's Day. Really enjoy it. We're all grateful for the young men you've raised that are West Point cadets and graduates and officers in the Army. Obviously, all 3 of you have done a phenomenal job as mothers. So from the GBK staff, thank you very much. Have a happy Mother's Day, and hope you really enjoy it. I don't know what the weather's like in Jersey. It's beautiful down here in Georgia, 75 degrees and sunny. Yes. It was a perfect day out today. So hopefully it's similar up in Jersey. Thank you very much. God bless, and beat Nate.